Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new Ninjago video here on the channel. My name is TannerFishies. In today's video, we are going to be discussing a subject that I have alluded to in previous videos, talking about Ninjago Dragons Rising Season 2 Part 2. Now yes, for those that might not be aware, every single episode of Part 2 has leaked early. You can find them online rather easily, and obviously this video will contain spoilers for Dragons Rising Season 2 Part 2. With those disclaimers out of the way, you have been warned. This video will contain spoilers. Now, the plot in which I am referring to is the whole idea of Elemental Masters in the Tournament of the Sources winning the power of their opponent in the match and using that power throughout the rest of the tournament. For example, we see Wildfire get defeated by Cinder in the tournament. Therefore, Cinder retains Wildfire's heat power, until later on when Sora defeats Cinder, she gains both Wildfire's heat and Cinder's smoke. Meanwhile, for somebody like Lloyd, we see him using the Pale Man's power of light and also Zeatrix's power of shockwave. Same thing with Noct. We see him using Jay's lightning and Nia's water up until each of these characters were eliminated in the tournament. The host of the Source Tournament, Roby, collects all of the elemental powers in the trophy and disperses them as such to the rightful winner of each of the matches. Now, as cool as this might be, as awesome as it might be to see different elemental powers be utilized by elemental masters who would not normally use that power, I do think this entire plot point is extremely weak and ultimately one of the reasons why Dragons Rising Season 2 Part 2 is weighed down for me in terms of quality. I really am not a huge fan of this plot point. Let me explain why. But first, don't get me wrong, like I said, I feel like this is awesome to see on screen, and on paper this is a very cool idea. Again, having elemental masters use powers that they normally would not is a great way to not only showcase the power and the flexibility of each of these elemental masters, but also it's just cool for Ninjago fans who have been around for a while, seeing each character only allowed to utilize one elemental power. I think the closest thing that we had to this prior was all of the stuff going on in Season 4 with Chen using the Staff of Elements to utilize several different elemental powers, or in Season 2, when Lloyd started to unlock his own elemental powers, he was able to use fire, lightning, earth, and ice. All of the awesomeness of those scenarios kind of gets rolled into this plot, and for that reason, I will admit this plot does sound extremely cool. Like I said though, in the context and the storyline of Season 2 Part 2, it kind of falls flat. Because as soon as this part of the tournament was revealed to the audience, to myself watching Dragons Rising Season 2 Part 2, I knew exactly where the plot was headed. I knew that Noct was participating in the tournament. He is a pretty strong elemental master, of course being one of the Forbidden Five. His power, strength, experience, all of that are just kind of off the charts. It was obvious that he would make it all the way to the end, and if he did not win the final game, claiming the trophy and all of the elemental powers, well, then he would have taken them by force. Surprise, surprise, that's exactly what happened, to the surprise of nobody. Especially not myself. And if you think about it like I did, the entire storyline was essentially already spoiled as soon as Noct was revealed to be participating in the tournament and as soon as this plot point was revealed. Because why else does this plot point exist except to give Noct all of the powers at the end? I mean, sure, in the context of the story, they are celebrating the powers given to the ninja and other elemental masters by the Source Dragons, but you did not need to do that. The celebration could just be elemental masters participating in the tournament. That could be the celebration of the Source Dragons. You did not need to have this plot point where the winner of each match gets the power of the loser. Even the show points this out. When the ninja talk to Roby and ask him, hey, what if the winner of the entire thing goes rogue and is evil? Roby brushes it off as not important because it's never happened before. Well, guess what? We have Noct here, and this is totally something that he would do. Sure enough, he did do that very same thing. Again, not really the best surprise out there. You could see where things were headed as soon as this storyline was talked about, as soon as it was introduced. Not to mention, it also reduces the screen time of elemental masters utilizing their own special powers. We have a bunch of new elemental masters in the tournament, and I feel like a lot of them just kind of get shuffled away, swept under the rug, in favor of giving their powers to more established characters, like the elemental master of balance, for example. We hardly know anything about that character because their power was given to Sora pretty much immediately. Same deal with the elemental elemental master of reflex and other elemental powers out there. And by having the power switch between elemental masters so rapidly like this, it kind of takes away from the uniqueness of each elemental master, and it doesn't really showcase specifically what they can do as a warrior. That is something that I loved about Season 4, the Tournament of Elements. Every elemental master had their own unique power, and they were all different, whether it be in terms of style, personality, alignment, what have you. Each elemental master was unique, and I was hoping for something similar to be addressed here and have every single character utilize their own elemental power during the tournament. Because again, showcasing what makes you you should be priority number one, not what you can do with someone else's elemental power. They try to talk about this in the show by having a conversation between Sora and Lloyd, where Lloyd mentions that Sora just needs to be herself, not rely on all of these other powers, except in the final throwdown. After this talk, she uses a bunch of other elemental powers and does not just stick with her tech power. Now, to wrap up today's video, let me talk about what I would have done differently. How should this have gone? Well, in my opinion, Season 2 Part 2 was extremely lacking in the content featuring the Blood Moon. The Blood Moon was a massive part of Season 2 Part 1, kind of expected it to be a major part of Season 2 Part 2, because we still have Lord Ras and the Wolf Clan as the primary antagonists with the Forbidden Five. All of this just kind of collectively screams Blood Moon. So where was the Blood Moon in Season 2 Part 2? Not there. And I know the Blood Moon Rising is extremely rare when it happens naturally, but I was expecting Part 2 to make it rise unnaturally. Maybe the winner of the Source Tournament could get one wish from the Source Dragons or something like that. Noct ends up winning, he wishes for the Blood Moon to return. That way they could open up Nether Space once again via the ritual of the Blood Moon, get the rest of the Forbidden Five out, and naturally this would lead to Kai and Bonzel somehow returning as well. Eventually a big fight would go down, and it would end with the rest of the Forbidden Five, along with Kai and Bonzel, escaping Nether Space, thus leaving us in the same place that we were in the actual Season 2 Part 2. The only difference is there was no weird let's absorb everybody's elemental powers storyline. And you know, to be fair, this alternate idea is not as airtight as I would like it to be, but then again, neither is the idea that suddenly there is another method to opening Nether Space that does not involve the Blood Moon. If Lord Ras and the Wolf Mask Shadow Army never needed the Blood Moon in the first place to open Nether Space, why did they even bother? Why not just jump straight to the Tournament of the Sources? And it might sound like I don't like Season 2 Part 2. That's not the case. I feel like they do have a lot of good ideas going for them, but I do have some major issues, obviously, and a lot of those issues I expressed in today's video. So with that being said, finally, that'll wrap it up for my thoughts here. Leave all of your thoughts down below in the comments regarding what you think about this entire storyline, and sorry if I was kind of rambly or ranty in today's video. I just have a lot to say about this subject, and a lot of it is not positive. So there's that. Feel free to leave a comment telling me why I am wrong, and thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed this one, feel free to like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I will talk to you guys again very, very soon. Peace.